Okay, so this is a continuation. This is going to be video 58. I'm still working on assignment number 25, and they're going to ask you this on the test, so let's just deal with it. You're asked to find the total surface area of the house, and that will include the bottom, okay? So sometimes there's a little ambiguity there about you know, you couldn't paint the bottom, right? But if they ask you for the surface area, you have to read carefully. Thank God it's a multiple choice question, so you'll be able to kind of check your answers on your own. So let's just make sure that we're clear on how I got all these numbers. I'm looking at the two triangles here, okay? So since the base is 18, and I don't know how many times I've done this both in class and here, then the missing height is 12. You don't understand that? What can I do? Just move on. Do what you got to do in life, right? So it's two of them, since there are two triangle faces to this house, and it's 1/2 18 times 12. And so when we do the numbers there, we come out with, we'll do that in a second. We'll get that in a second down. I don't see the numbers out here. I'll get them out. Oh, that's 216. Okay? And you'll double check my numbers there, but that's what I came out with. Okay? And then the second one here is the sides of the roof. So you can see them, right? And these are called lateral sides. We talked about that in the triangular or right triangular prism. So that would be 2 times 15 times 20. And so when you do that, you come up with 600. That shouldn't be too bad. Okay? Everything's, by the way, square units. And if you had to paint this, then we do the problem that we just did on the other side, right? Talked about that. And then the front of the house, and these are the two rectangles in the front, this guy and this guy, and that's 18 times 10. So how did I get 10? Well, if the whole thing is 22, then 22 minus 12, which is the height, which is 10. And the Common Core would expect you to be able to do that easily. And when we do that math, we come up with 360. All the time clicking your calculator. And then, of course, there are the two sides of the house. And that's 20 times 10. We just explained to you how you came up with 10. And double that, and you should easily be able to come up with 400. Okay? And the bottom is just 18 times 20, since 20 is the length of the whole house. And 18 times 20 should be, let's see what we got here on the last one. 18 times 10 is 360, is 180, so 18 times 20 is 360. So there we go. Okay? And to avoid problems, you might get your calculator handy there. And we add all that up, and we get 1,876 square feet. It's a multiple choice test for most of these questions, so you should be able to do it. You'll have all the time in the world. It's obviously not a time test. Okay? And now the second question is the lateral sides. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and we count the bottom as a lateral side since we're counting everybody. So I just get that up, and we add that together, the lateral sides, and the faces of the side roof, and they're certainly lateral, so that's 600. The front of the house is not lateral. The sides of the house is certainly lateral, and the bottom is certainly lateral. So when you add all that up, you should easily be able to come up with 1360 square units. Okay? And the volume needs to be discussed here. So I'll erase all this, and you guys can check my answers. Send me a note if something's messed up here. I doubt it. And like I mentioned before, very tedious, takes forever, and no real intellectual satisfaction in problems like this. But the promise was that I would prep you for the test, the kind of questions that they want you to be able to do. So I'm erasing all this so I can get right at the volume here. And I'm almost done. Erasing. Later we'll fix this up nicer. It's a little, didn't all come off all that, but that's no big deal. And we're asked to find the volume. Well, it's the face, area, times the length. You have to know that. 7th graders know that. 8th graders have to put this in effect in using the Pythagorean triples that I told you about. So the face, the total area of the face is 1/2 times 18 times 12. We'll get to that in a second. Plus 18 times 10. So we'll just write it out in steps here. So that's the face, the whole face here. The whole thing right here. And that times 20. So we'll just put this in parentheses. We have to multiply it times 20, and you get the volume. You need to know that. Done that quite a few times. It's the face times the length. The area of the face times the length gives you the volume of these prism figures, three-dimensional, in space. So let's see, 6 times 18, or 9 times 12. We'll do 9 times 12 here. Don't want to waste time. And this is 108 plus 180 times 20. And finally, 108, just to avoid mistakes here, plus 180. And that turns out to be 288 times 20. Again, this is the area of the face. You just multiply it by the length of the figure. And we multiply 288 times 20, and your answer should be 5760 cubic. And I would mark it wrong on an open-ended question if you didn't put down the word cubic units. Because that's, if anything valid in this, it's understanding the difference between surface area and volume, cubic, squared, and linear, as the Common Core demands. All right, so we're almost done with this. Let's look at the time. We're doing great with the time. And now all we have to do is the last problem. I'll erase this. And sorry about the erasing part. Right now the eraser's not doing the greatest job ever. I clean it periodically, but needs a little work. But right now we'll just get this problem number 5 done as promised. And again, expect to see this on the upcoming test. So you've been prepped. This afternoon I'm going to do some more work for you. And we go to problem number 5 over here, and we see that we have a cone of some sort. And we see that the volume is given. It's 875 cubic centimeters. So you've had your practice on this. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, you can save the videos, you can go over them. When you're taking the test, you can use them just like you use your notes. So there's no, the test is going to be completely fair in that sense. And they want you to find R to 100. Okay? If you haven't watched the videos, you have no chance on the test. That's so mad obvious. Okay? And here we just fill in the formula yet again. 875, that's a 7, equals 1/3 pi r squared h. Oh, just in contrast to the one we did a little earlier this morning, now you're going to need to take the square root. So you need to understand that. That's the math. Like any other subject that you would take. You need to understand the basic ideas. Okay? And I'm going to multiply 8, in this case I know h, so I don't have to multiply 875 by 3. H is 12, okay? So I always choose the easiest way to do the problem, right? So it turns out to be 875 equals 4 pi r squared. Those of you who've been working the math don't think this stuff goes away. There we go. Radical, radical. So R equals whatever this number turns out to be. And so as to not waste your time, I put it on the calculator and I did it to 100th, and I came up with R equals 8.34 to 100th. There's your linear unit, or linear centimeters in this case. And you'd be expected to do a problem like that on your test, though most of the questions are multiple choice, so if you don't come up with the answer on the multiple choice, then you can go back and do it again till you do. The test is vetted. They're not my questions, as I mentioned in my letters. They're questions that are given, from the Common Core and the Regents, and solved by me, and supposedly to be solved by you. Okay, so that finishes assignment number 25 this afternoon, or later this morning. I'll come in and I'll give you more work that I believe is going to be on the test that you'll need to know. A couple more things, because I've received questions about when we're finally going to get started on this. And there are just a couple more things I want to do. And besides, I think the review has been really important. All right, let's close this one off.